Hey, Diana, welcome to the show. I appreciate you being here.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
You're a special type of guest I have figured out. I just want to ask you all these questions for myself and hope the listeners get something too. So I have a lot of questions for you. So I'm very excited to have you on the show.
Yeah, I'm happy to answer it. Excited to get to learn from you too.
We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. The first one I want to start with because this a lot of things you don't know about business until you really get into the thick of it. It's like, oh crap, I maybe could have done that different. And one thing I do think about is this question. When somebody starts a business, what are early signs that they're building a real business versus a really demanding job? Because if you are everything in the business, like you're the whole business.
I think what you use the word in the question, I think demand, right? Like that is a very good indicator of the business is something that could grow, that could scale with employees, that could do more than just, hey, I'm, like you said, owning my own job, right? Because that's also a really great business. But for scalability context, it's the demand is as I'm growing this, as I'm working on it, is there more than I can actually personally handle? So I always, when I'm working with the clients that I work with, I'm like, hey, what are the areas where you're really getting pulled and you guys can't fulfill it? That's a really great place to start for determining whether the business is, hey, a scalable piece to keep going.
What is the balance though between just having demand and generating demand? Because when you start a business, let's say for me, like starting a financial coaching business, nobody knows you're there. So if you want to get coaching clients, you have to get yourself out there. So there's not demand in the very beginning. So is it like automatically a failure if you want to do something that is service based? So when is like this fine line of like you're the whole thing and it's not a real business?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that when you look at the entire scope of the industry, right? So I'm not talking about are they hunting you down, right? Like have they found, let's say, Lacey today and said, "Hey, I need you as my coach." But does the industry as a whole have a demand? Like, do we as a country, do we as a market need financial coaches? Do we need help getting out of debt? Do we need help scaling up our own personal money? Do we need help managing it? The answer for that, in this example would be yes, right? Because we are in, certain types of crisis on the personal finance side, the most debt we've ever had, the least amount of wealth we've had in, I was just listening to something the other day where I was talking about how, 30-year-olds are less well off than their parents were. And this is the first time in a generation where that's statistically true, right? Versus it being, hey, you used to be the 30-year-olds were better off than their parents were every generation previously. So I think that is what is the entire market. It isn't necessarily, hey, no one can find me. Yes, you have to get out there. You got to build your referral network. You can't, just sit in your office at home and go, hey, where's my business? But is there a market demand, right? Because you look at even now, AI, right? There's a huge market demand to know how to leverage AI on the money front, right? So that's a really great opportunity for a business as well. So you figuring out exactly what the market is telling you is really, that is what I mean from the demand perspective, not just, hey, people keep coming to me. So, I know that this is a good business. That also is. But I think as a whole, it's, hey, what is the market saying?
I see it in the military spouse community. Curious if you see it too. Is because of the frequent transitions, the underemployment. Often military spouses just want to start a business. The other thing is, oh, I'll get another degree. But the other thing is wanting to become an entrepreneur or just some type of side hustle that generates enough income. Should people be starting businesses if they don't have an idea of what they want to do? Are you seeing people that just, I want to start a business because I want to make money, not necessarily because they might be great at business?
Yes, like the best business owners that I've seen are ones who are passionate about what they're doing, but they're not just like, oh, I'm passionate about making bread, right? They're actually really good at it too, right? They may not be an expert, but they already have a knack. Somebody said, hey, that's delicious. I wish you would make me that again, right? You deliver that over to your neighbor and they're like, oh my gosh, that was the best bread I've ever had, right? So I think it's taking something that you are good at and passionate at, and then that creates like the formulation for a business that you can be happy with. I mean, sometimes we have to make money, right? Like not every business that I own is the most fun business that I work on, right? However, I think that if you're starting out and it is a side hustle or it is something that you're, hey, I just need to make ends meet, the best recipe for success is, am I good at it? And do I like it? And then that way you stick with it when things get hard and you have a natural knack for that. So it can, yeah, like I said, bread making, it can be crafting, it can be understanding financial coaching, it can be life coaching, any of those things. But I really find when people align their passion versus with their actual skill set. So just because you love, I love Zumba, right? But boy, that is not a skill, right? It's just not. I love going, it's so fun. I learned how to teach it. Taught a couple classes in college. Nope. It just that wasn't going to be where I went. But finding that perfect match of things they're good at and passionate about are really the key there.
What about creating something that it maybe is a new industry or a totally new concept? And for example, Sarah Blakely, the founder of Spanx, that was not a product that anybody had thought of or was doing. Or another great example is Bethany Frankel with Skinny Margarita. Nobody realizing, hey, there's some people that want to drink but want to watch their calories. So, I mean, is that something that you have to have a passion for? You have this concept that you just feel very strongly about, that you want to push that through? Because I would think both of those women were up against a lot. People this is the way it's normally done, and you aren't fitting into this mold. You're not part of this industry or whatever it is. I mean, how does somebody push through that and balance? Is this going to be a real business? Could you lose money, or is that where all the risk is at? You could lose everything.
Yes, I think you're right. I think you have to believe in it, right? I think that's the key. And that's why I talk about the passion aspect of it. You've got to believe in the product. So I worked with a company that made really comfortable nursing bras, right? And so they had a tremendous, in that particular industry, there's a very high concentration of one type of bra that's in pretty much any box store. And then when I came on, there were a couple boutique brands and they nearly lost it all over and over and over again. But because they bet on the product and they bet on hey, this is a better product. This is something we truly believe, a good pair of nursing pajamas and a really high quality, comfortable nursing and pumping bra is going to change mothers' lives. They were able to scale it. We scaled up from 12 million to 88 million before an exit, right? And so those types of things, if they hadn't had passion behind the product, knowing that it was going to really change lives, and now it's in Target, and now it's in Walmart, and now it's all over Amazon, right? They would have given up because it almost went belly up, two or three times during that, 5-year stint, right? And so I do think you have to have that level of perseverance, but it's solving a need, solving demand. As that product went on, yes, there were highs and lows, but they saw that, hey, people, when they got it, they bought another one. So looking at what the data says, hey, our returning customer rate is 57%. On an average company, of this type of, in this brand, in this industry, it's 30%. That's a pretty good indicator that if they try it, they really like it, they're going to come back and buy it. So you kind of follow what the data says as you grow. But yeah, I mean, there is a lot of risk in business in general. And I don't actually believe everyone should be an entrepreneur. I do think it takes a skill set. And if you don't have that skill set, it isn't a bad thing. There's my companies have amazing people that work with us who they don't have that entrepreneur bug, but they have that startup spirit, but they're just not interested in that type of risk. And that is totally okay too.
Yes, I love that. Two things there, that the nursing bra, again, that's kind of like the Spanx story.
Yes.
It's something new, something needed that it, because you're in that world where, you need a pair of Spanx for work, or you need a nursing bra. So that it's needed and people are coming to you versus, somebody that's saying, hey, I'm starting this new product. I think it's really great. Well, people aren't reaching out to you. They bought one and they're not coming back. So you say you think it's great, but other people aren't doing that. So that's a really great point to make. And also too, that even if you start a business and it's not something that you realize, hey, I really want to stay in this for the long haul, I think you're right. I think it shows you though where you're really good. I think about that all the time. Like, if I quit this whole entrepreneurship thing, all the jobs that I would apply for that I would never have thought before that I was capable of doing is like, no, these are actually things that I would love to do. And I think I'm good at, from behind the scenes that I've worked out through going through entrepreneurship. So I love that even if it isn't for you, there's something that is your zone of genius.
Yeah, I recently brought on to my advisory, the exit planning advisory team, Corleo. We brought on an operator who just closed her cabinet business, right? So she'd been making cabinets for a decade and just say, hey, I'm not in love with this business anymore, but I'm really good at running a business, right? And so we just hired her on as our operator. So just because like that entrepreneurship lens can, like you said, opens up a bunch of doors. Like, what could you now do with the skill sets you had as an entrepreneur? Pretty much anything, right? Like, you could probably work any job, but specifically figuring out what you like to do. Like, what are you good at and what are you passionate about?
Yes.
That's where I always land.
Yeah. And I would think too that people that have been in business, entrepreneurs, they have a lot more respect for fellow entrepreneurs. They realize like the sacrifice and, everything that's on the line and stuff like that. So what are some of the few or one or two mistakes that people make in the first few years of business that is limiting their growth?
Yes. Well, I would say speed of cash, right? Like that's always something, you can grow as fast as you have cash, but also, for the way that I operate my businesses, I don't love debt as a constraint. So I operate all of my businesses without debt for the very reason of the decisions I would make are different based off of, whether or not I have those things hanging over my head, right? So when I go into a business, what I'm always looking at is, okay, how fast is their cash flow? How can they replenish? What are we looking at in order to make sure that we can continue our operations for a long period of time? Are we operating at a deficit? What is our surplus? If things were to go downhill, how long would we be good? Do we have, sort of a business emergency fund in case something like that did happen? But we're always looking for, hey, do we have the right margins, right? So people talk about that all the time, like what is a margin, right? So it's, what you're making versus like what you're paying out, basically your COGS. So if you're a service-based business, that's, hey, what are the costs that are associated with fulfilling that particular service? And we want to make sure that we have, based off of industry. I just did some analysis on a moving company. Their margins are 3%. I'm like, no wonder like we have so many issues in the military with moving, because if you have to run a business on a 3% margin, any little mistake is crazy, right? Like it can knock you off, because like I make 1% mistakes all the time. So I think it's definitely getting control of your expenses, watching your margins, and that's what I love to do. Your numbers always tell a story. And so for the fractional CFO work I do, for the bookkeeping work our team does, we're always looking for, what is that story telling you? What are your numbers telling you about your business? Is it healthy? Could it be healthier? What are some things that we could change to make that be true? You have a healthier business.
What are some other key numbers or metrics that show that you have a healthy business?
Yeah, so I look for cash flow. I look for margin. I mean, obviously people always look for EBITDA. I do look for growth, but I think it really, like every industry is different. So I'm telling you all the different businesses that I look at and work with. There's a business that sells show pigs, right? Like there's a whole industry of show pigs, which I didn't know about until I started working with them, because I didn't grow up in the area where that was a big thing. But they make all of their money from basically December to April. And then they have to survive from May to December from all of the revenue in that period of time. So every business, every industry has a different standard for what that busyness would be. Obviously, like e-commerce brands, you're looking at, you want to see growth a lot of year over year in Q4. So the numbers I'm looking at, obviously starting out is hard to do, but what you're looking at is, hey, do we have year over year growth, month over month growth if you're not a cyclical business? Obviously, if you do month over month growth for that business, that show pig business from April to May, you're going to think the business is over. You've lost everything, right? But if you looked April to April, you go, oh man, we were actually up year over year. Now we have the challenge of managing cash flow for the other 8 months of the year. And so what I always tell new people starting out is make sure you build up your initial emergency fund, that you're making, more than you're spending. And if you're not, figuring out, how do we get those expenses down so that we are net positive. You don't want to work for free. Obviously, there's seasons of investment, right? So let's say, hey, I'm going to make an investment of, on software, on AI, on a person. But looking at the number, I always tell people is look at a 3x return, and when will you get that? And can you financially, decide that, hey, I can do that for 3 months, knowing I'm not going to have a return for 3 months. Yes, I can carry that for 3 months. So those are some of the numbers. I do a quick overview that I apply to most industries.
You mentioned a minute ago about exit planning. So you are a certified exit planning advisor. When we were planning this, I had no idea that was a thing. And so I want to know what exactly, is that kind of what exit planning is? And also, when should founders start thinking about exit planning?
Those are all great questions. Yes, I'm very passionate about exit planning, and not necessarily in the way of hey, I'm going to exit my business tomorrow, so here's the team that's going to help you do it. Well, yes, that my advisory team does that, right? The point of an exit plan is it's actually just business strategy. So you can, in a business, create your numbers to say truly anything, right? You can move things around so you're taking distributions rather than salary. You can move things around where you're taking guaranteed payments versus distributions. The numbers in business can change all the time, which is really cool, right? You can make it be what you need it to be. But let's say you are looking at a potential exit to an internal person, right? Hey, you have an assistant that is, growing, and they're becoming a certified financial coach with you. And you're hey, I want to go do some of this other stuff, but I want to make sure my clients and team are taken care of. So I'm going to pass it down to them. You want to make sure that number one, you can get the most value out of it for you, and the business is set up really well for them. So let's say an internal transfer, you don't want to hand them problems that you've been ignoring for 3 years. Ideally, if you like them, you want to solve those problems ahead of time. So that's, there's a lot of different ways to think about it. It's not just, hey, I'm going to build a business from zero, scale it to 10 million and sell it for 100 million, which I think is the mindset that people think of with an exit. You can exit to a business partner. You can exit with an ESOP, which is employees. You can exit so that the employee team takes it over and is owned by the employees. There's just so many different ways to quote exit. Also, you can exit and then also stay on. It doesn't mean you have to completely leave. It can be a partial exit. So what I do there is I help, basically, it's called the value acceleration methodology. And so we help work with our clients to make sure the company's worth what they want it to be worth by the end, and that they're set up not just from a financial standpoint, but also if you do sell your business completely, what does the next day look like for you? Because if you go from working, a high impact job into looking at your nails all day, that isn't a good quality of life. So what are you exiting to? So it's a fully personal business finance, personal finance, and personal, what are you going to be doing with the rest of your life? Especially when we work with a lot of the young people we do. And the reason I'm so passionate about exit planning is I've been a part of exits as employees that have gone really bad. I've been part of them that have gone really well. Personally, I've made a ton of mistakes along the way. And I'm if I can help one person not make the mistakes or the errors that I've seen happen, that's a win for me. So I'm really passionate about making sure, the founder and the business owner is taken care of in the exit of their business.
I love that. I would never have thought of, exit planning until, having businesses, but you start to realize get really sick one time and you're oh, what if I'm not around? What's going to happen here? But I do think more people need to think about it. What is your strategy here? Begin with the end in mind. If you're starting XYZ business, how do you plan to leave XYZ business? Is it just die? Or is it, sell it, like you said, somebody that surrounds you to another company, whatever it is? Or continue to do it, if you just really enjoy your work and until you can no longer do it. But what do you have people that come to you and you have to give them bad news, your business isn't worth anything?
Yes, definitely. But the good news is a lot of, depending on when you come, right? If you come to me and you're hey, I'm on death's door, I've got to sell this tomorrow. There's not very much that anyone can do to help you, right? If your business isn't let's say I'll give you an example of a business that I've worked on that had some legal issues. because of a licensing agreement. And they had big plans to like exit and sell. Like they had really wonderful margin. We're talking about like 70% net margins, like really should be really desirable to even to professional investors, right? People who don't really care about the business but just want to make money. But because they had this licensing issue and these legal items, basically made the business worth zero, which is a bummer, right? Because at this point, because of how it was settled and everything, it opens them up for quite a bit of potential, future liability. And nobody wants to touch that, because once you get into that and it's into the hands of an investor, then they're like, oh, I'm just deep pockets for these other, licensing issues to come up. So, definitely had to give bad news. But the good news of it is we were able to say, you can't exit it in a traditional way, but you can exit it in a non-traditional way. And the way that they're doing that is they're maximizing, like basically, hey, the business is going to shut down in a few years. That's okay. But they're going to be able to generate enough revenue based off of like the marketing plan and the expense plan that would be equal to what they would get if they actually went to exit it. So they're still going to be having a really solid financial exit. It just isn't, hey, that business is going to live on. And so there's always a win like that. And the type of person of like, hey, we can always find a win. But yes, unfortunately, there are things that make a business not worth very much is owner dependency. So if like you are the person and you're the only one who supplies it and nothing can happen without you, that's an issue. Concentration of clientele. So let's say you just work for one or two big clients and you don't have any additional, there's less diversification. That can be an issue. The strength of your team. If you're not a solopreneur, it's not like a SaaS product. And I can go on and on, but essentially, yes, long answer for a short answer. Yes, I've had to do that, but I always feel like there's a way to figure out a win. And so that's what I work to do.
So in the evaluation of a business that you think would be sellable, what would you say are the top like two things that are, yes, this is awesome?
Yes, I would say, depending on the industry, but you get higher multiples for, obviously, software companies are really great for higher multiples. So what I mean by that is generally business are evaluated on a really rough scale, right? Are based off of the multiple of EBITDA. And so,
which is, I'm sorry, you mentioned that earlier. For people that don't know it, can you say what that is?
Great. Yes. It's earnings before income, tax, depreciation, and
amortization, right?
Thank you.
Yeah. I don't know why. All the other things, that's the only word I can remember.
It's perfect. Yes. So basically, it is and a lot of times people even use an adjusted EBITDA, which is where you add back in like owner salary and different things that you personally take out of the business if you're the owner. Because if somebody else were to own it, they wouldn't have those expenses, right? So an adjusted EBITDA number. But yes, it is a number that you can generally find it's from the baseline of your profit and loss sheet, and then a few tweaks made from the balance sheet, you can get your EBITDA. So it's pretty easy to figure out. It's just a simple calculation. Knowing what that number is. Software companies, obviously, direct manufacturing, right, is the more people that are involved, generally the multiplier gets lower. The value of the business gets lower unless it's a very specific, unique, like, hey, I make this specific widget that nobody else makes and we have a monopoly on that. But like rarity, I guess, also is a thing that we look at that really adds value. But also, like I said, non-owner dependent, right? Because essentially, if you're going to exit the business, if you are the one who's making all the decisions, if you're the one who's doing all those things, that is going to be, if you have a great team and you are able to like let them run and do all of those great things, then that's something, definitely that people look for. They don't want no business that, they don't want anything that's dependent on one person for the reason you said before. If you get hit by a bus, if you get sick, what happens to that business? We want SOPs, we want structure, we want a team.
On the subject of owner dependency, how do you get people to shift their mindset from doing everything themselves to building a team and the infrastructure for their business? Because in the beginning, everybody listening to the show is probably sick of me saying this, but I probably never told it to you, Diana. So I say that starting a business is like having an imaginary friend. In the beginning, only you truly see it and believe it. And so in having passion for like making something out of thin air, like you are really invested in it. So it can be hard for people to let go of some of that. Plus it's just, your reputation, your brand, all these things are mixed up into it. So how do you get people to start making that shift?
Yeah, that's a great question. And you're asking the right person, right? Because I own literally a delegation company. So I think the way that I see it is it's just a multiplication of your talent and vision. So like when I delegate something, it isn't like, oh, I've lost control of that, but it's, hey, because I've delegated that, I'm able to do this. And think about all these cool things I'm able to do because of it. So for me, it's the mindset of how do I multiply my time? How do I multiply my talent? And I can't do that if I'm the only person who can execute on it. So for me, that's the mindset shift of like, hey, this business is going to see more and do more because I'm not the face behind it. I'm not the only one who can do that. I have people who I trust who see the vision with me. Now, I do think it's really important that you can delegate to the right people, because most of the conversations I've had where people are like, I can't give that up, is because they've delegated to the wrong person. And so we can go down a whole rabbit hole of how to figure that out. My business partner, Laura, is the queen of figuring out the right person to delegate to, with the right personality, with the right, skill set. Again, we're going to go back. We're going to loop it all the way back. Do they have the passion and do they have the skill for it, right? And so if you have the right people in the right seats, then you're really going to be able to, they're going to be able to thrive and you're going to be able to thrive.
What's your advice? Because you do have a delegation business. I need to ask you that question too about how you and Laura started, because I asked Laura that in a previous show. I'll come to that in a second though. But how do you advise people on balancing between having the budget? Because when you're starting out, if you're not bringing in a ton of money, maybe you're just passionate about what you do, so you're not able to delegate, but you need to because you have to pay for that person and you're not sure, hey, will I have the money next month to do that? So where's like the line there?
Yeah. Have you heard the exercise about like the dollar value? Have you talked about that before, about like what dollar value your time is? Okay. So an easy way to say it is like, do you have a $10 task, and $100 task, or $1,000 task, right? And so when I think about that, I think about like admin tasks a lot of times, even though obviously admins are not $10, but this is just an easier way to do it. We just have to do it. But a $10 task is something like, hey, I've got to reformat this sheet to make it look okay, right? It's something that, I can spend my time on, but the value of that's going to be at $10. $100 could be, hey, I'm working with clients. I'm, diving in with them. I'm providing the service, the service that I'm providing. So it's a good use of my time because, hey, that's when I'm going to bill, near $100. So this is a really good use of what I'm spending my time at. But the most is the $1,000 task. So those are the things of, hey, I'm, for example, we're building out some AI offerings where we can do AI enhanced finance, AI enhanced operation, AI enhanced, marketing. That requires my time to build out that program, to think ahead, to figure out who are the best people in the right seat, knowing that, hey, once I get that set up, that's going to generate 20% additional revenue. So those are the $1,000 tasks. Those are the things that are big picture. And so if you're realizing that you're spending, if you look at your time, which I'm a huge, fan of time audits, and with tools nowadays, like you used to have to when I started, we'd make our clients like literally write down a time audit. You don't have to do that anymore. You can just put an app on the back of your computer and it will tell you where you're spending your time. But if you can kind of see, hey, I'm spending all of my time on these $10 tasks and I'm not getting any $1,000 tasks done, that's why my revenue's stuck, right? I haven't even had time to think or dream or even figure out what those, different offerings could be. And so that's when you kind of go, hey, it's time for me to delegate, because these tasks like aren't allowing me to do things that are going to generate additional revenue for my business. And so that's how I work to, when we work with time audits with clients, how do you find more time? Well, what are those $10 tasks that you're doing? And how can we either figure out a system or a way to delegate those things? So it's not always people. It could just be, hey, I need to put in a different system in place. Hey, I need to add in Fixer AI to my email so that it's all sorted for me in the morning. Because that was taking me an hour. Now it takes me 5 minutes. It doesn't have to necessarily be delegation to a human, but it could be delegation to a system.
That actually leads me to my next question. What are some like 2 or 3 systems that are key in the beginning for people to put into place for their business?
Yes. I'll just stick with service-based business since we've been talking about that. Obviously, product-based businesses are different. But I'd say having systems for if you're the service provider, so let's say we'll talk about like financial coaching, like organization of email. So there's things like Sorted, there's systems like Fixer or Motion, any of those that kind of work to get on top of your email, because that can be where people spend hours and hours a day, where it really should be something that you can do quickly. That also can be delegated. If you're a privacy person like myself, I don't love using AI tools in my email because I don't really want them reading all my emails. I don't know what it is, but I use an admin to sort through and do all that. So very rarely do I actually respond to emails. My team is doing that. And so like I talk with them, we do a 5-minute chat and it's all out, and that's hours back in my day. I think organization of process, so like it's going to be so cliche, you're like roll your eyes, but a client journey. So if somebody's coming in, what is that process? What is that system? How do you onboard them? How can you automate it? Again, it's not necessarily, hey, I have a admin who onboards somebody. It's, hey, I've got a system that once they reach out, we've had our initial discovery call. I already have all of this set up in my system, 17 hats where everything automated sends, invoices are automatically sends, the welcome survey is automatically sent. Like all of those things are done. So those are not $10 tasks that I have to work on. So I get to go in and review before the client meeting and go, hey, I've got all the information I need. You're able to do that $100 task instead of spending 3 hours on the $10 task. And yes, it takes time to set it up. But again, that can be outsourced, or it can just be, hey, I'm doing this now so I don't have to do it later. So yeah, I think those are like just kind of quick ones that come to mind.
Yes, those are good ones. I think also important. I want to ask you kind of your advice for people starting out in business and people that have been in business. So the first one, let's say somebody has made it past the key threshold. They've been in business for over 5 years. So they have made it in, I guess, some terms, have had some success. They've stayed in it. They have turned a profit or whatever, but they're burnt out. Like they just want to walk away. Like maybe they're the type of business that you're like, hey, you're all in this and we can't sell it right now. What's your advice for somebody that's just, really been in the thick of it and doesn't know if they want to continue on and they just want to walk away?
I have the burn it down moments all the time. So I can absolutely relate to that. I think the reason I do the work that I do and all the different businesses and all the different ways is I want people to have the family life and career that they dreamed of. And so when you're in a burnout state, something's not aligned. And so what I want to just encourage is look for misalignment, right? So what that means is like, hey, what doesn't feel good about what I'm doing? Is it that you're doing too much yourself? Is it that the business has grown past the point where you feel comfortable? Maybe it's not grown far enough, right? Like maybe you haven't invested in the right areas with your time or with your resources to get the return that you want to. So I always ask the question of like, what's out of alignment? And sometimes the answer is maybe not like, oh, I just need to grow more, or, oh, I need to rest. But maybe it's like, hey, I've had to sacrifice in ways that I don't feel good with like volunteering at the school, for example. So go volunteer at the school. Block that into your calendar, make it a priority, and see if that feels more in alignment, right? So always kind of look for those places of misalignment. Generally, it's not as significant as it may feel at the time. Generally, it's everything else around you can make you kind of bring up those feelings.
Yes, I love that. Okay, now what is your advice for somebody that, we'll say military spouse, that is thinking of they want some financial freedom and control of their earning ability and they want to start a business? What's something they should start doing right now that as a business owner they'll thank themselves in the future for?
Yeah. I definitely think figuring, like what we talked a little bit about before, is figuring out what you really love to do. Like I said, I really don't love starting a business with debt because I feel like it makes you make different decisions. So spending some time and potentially saving up so that you can start it without any pressure of like, hey, I got to pay that back right away. I've got to make money right away. Like figuring out what's working for you and what's not. And also, let's say I had a friend who started a coffee roasting company, but she didn't really know what to do. And so what she did is she went and worked for a coffee roaster in her area and learned a bunch about it before she started it. So it could be, hey, there's something I like to do. let me intern under somebody or work for them for a little bit, and gain some experience in that way too. So I think it can be a variety of different things to do, but the more you can learn, the better off you'll be when you get started.
I am a huge fan of learning. I know that is the inner dork in me, but I have done a lot of those things that people don't realize. Even like I have worked for other podcasts doing like admin stuff because I can, see how they do it, see how I can improve my process. I've worked for other events. That is one of my favorite things is to volunteer at events so I can understand like how I could make mine a little bit better or do things differently or just the customer experience, definitely showing up to an event, those type of things. So I'm a big fan of if you can learn for free, then you should take it. It's a bonus if you can take it as a job, like and get paid to do it, but I'm a huge fan of that advice.
Yeah, it's so smart. I mean, that's really so smart because it's all that learning curve you didn't have to figure out yourself. It's so smart.
Yes. And some things I've learned what not to do. Like that is not a good thing, So
that's honestly the best lessons, I feel like. Right?
Yes. I do think that as an event owner, that most event owners should do a customer check-in at other events so they can see like that's a critical point. That's a very critical point. And if you don't, have that on lock, that's a huge problem because it's the first impression or somewhat. But anyway. Okay, I want to switch gears and ask you a couple of quick random questions. I ask everybody. First off, what is one resource or tool that you use that makes your life easier?
Well, I would say right now I'm headfirst into AI, so I use Claude way too much, but it's great for research, great for framing, just a great resource tool. So right now I would say Claude.
Okay, what is your favorite book right now or your favorite book of all time?
As you can tell, if you're watching, I love books. One of my friends just recently wrote a book, which I've been enjoying, but I say my favorite book of all time would probably be The Ideal Team Player by Patrick Lencioni. It just really talks about how to identify and to become a better teammate to your team and then also to evaluate yourself and others. It's pretty good.
Ooh, that's a good one. I'm going to put that in my own cart. I'll also put a link in the show notes for everybody, but that sounds like a great book to read. I will check that out. Okay, now it is time for my favorite part of the podcast, which is game time. And in honor of your visit today, we're going to be playing random trivia, women in business, in honor of Women History Month. So I thought this would be a great game to play with you.
Awesome.
In theory. So I'm going to give you 5 descriptions of female entrepreneurs, and then I'm going to give you some multiple choice options. And if you get 3 out of the 5 correct, you get bragging rights that you won game time on the MILMO show, which is a really big deal.
Awesome.
Okay.
I can't say this would be an area I know much about, but we will try.
Okay. You just got to get 3. Okay. Number 1. In 2012, which entrepreneur was named the youngest self-made female billionaire by Forbes after starting her company with just $5,000 in savings? Was it A, Whitney Wolfe Herd, B, Sarah Blakely, B, Sarah Blakely, C, Oprah Winfrey, or D, Kate Spade?
I'm going to go with, what year did you say? 2012?
2012. That's when she was named a billionaire.
Okay.
Not when she started her business.
We're going to go with B, Sarah Blakely.
That is correct. I'm glad you got that one because that's like my favorite. That she wrote her own patent and she just had $5,000 and she turned it into a $1 billion business.
Have you seen her new business? Have you?
Yes, I don't have a pair, but the sneaks.
Yes, I was hoping they'd go on Black Friday sale. They didn't.
They didn't. Okay, I'm glad you checked that out for me. Yes, they are a little out of my price range right now.
I was like waiting for the sale and nothing happened. So that was a bummer.
Yes. Kind of Spanx is a premium product as well. So, but that's definitely more premium. But same thing, like a unique idea that she saw the need for because she's on her feet. She is doing all of these things. So, okay, I digressed. Number 2, which entrepreneur became the youngest self-made female billionaire in 2022? Primarily due to the massive success of her inclusive cosmetics brand, Fenty Beauty. Is it A, Kylie Jenner, B, Rihanna, or C, Selena Gomez?
I think that's Rihanna.
That is correct. I didn't realize that she was a billionaire. I was researching anyway to do this game and also thought that was super cool. Okay, next one. Who made history in 2021 as the youngest woman to lead an initial public offering in the US when she took her dating app Bumble public at 31?
That's
Was it?
Whitney. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. And she was involved in Tinder as well. So I think that's super cool that anyway. Okay. So you have bragging rights that you won game time, but you have to finish strong. So number
Okay.
4, starting as a blogger in 2020, I'm sorry, starting a blogger in 2006, which entrepreneur built a multi-million dollar lifestyle empire, a top-rated Food Network show, a magazine, and a massive product line at Walmart? Was it A, Martha Stewart, B, Reed Drummond, or C, Rachel Ray?
Isn't that Rachel Ray?
No, you got that one wrong.
Is
It's
that right?
pioneer woman Reed Drummond.
Oh,
Who?
see, if you had said Pioneer Woman, I
I
would.
know. I know. I
The
know.
issue is I don't know her actual name, which
Yes.
shows how great her branding is.
Yes. Oh, yeah. And I think about her all the time in business is that she didn't market, she didn't do anything. Just people really loved her blog. And like, I remember I followed her from the beginning. Like, she did homeschooling stuff, all these recipes, and she just really grew that because she had something people really wanted. Like, they enjoyed going and reading and, following along. And photography was another thing she did. So,
Yeah, I
okay.
have one of her cookbook stands that holds my gold planner right now.
Yeah. Yeah. She has a lot of great stuff. It just feels like it continues to grow. She also rebuilt, like, she's a mercantile, like a brick and mortar place now in her hometown, her town where she lives in. And they built a boarding house. So it's like a 6 or 7 room hotel in their town. And so I've read other articles about people talking about their family that she basically has brought economic opportunities there for their youth, because a lot of the teenagers going to college weren't moving back home because there was no opportunities. But now not only are people, her fans, coming to these stores, then they're like doing other things in town. And so other people's businesses are doing well. So she's like a force to be reckoned with, I think. Okay, last one. Which 18th century entrepreneur is credited with saving the South Carolina economy by successfully cultivating indigo, which became one of America's colonies' most important export crops? So I tried to throw like a historical one in there. So is it A, Martha Washington, B, Abigail Adams, or C, Eliza Lucas Pickney? And this is indigo in the 18th century.
I'm gonna go C.
That is correct. I probably made that easy that those first ladies did not have an indigo business while they were.
I was like, I don't think I just used deduction on that one. I don't. I mean, I live close to South Carolina, but I have no idea.
But they say she started when she was 16, that she did
Wow.
all that stuff. So, all right. Well, you definitely won bragging rights that you won game time on the MILMO show. I appreciate you playing the game and being on the show. Can you tell everybody listening where they can learn more about you and what you're up to?
Yeah, you can find me at wiseadviceteam.com. That's a great place to start. And on LinkedIn, Diana Jaquith.
I will definitely link to all of that in the show notes for everybody. Thank you again. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Bye.